Other options down here below, those really don't really matter, just some main information. The tax ID number as listed has to be used in your invoice just that way. If you're going to make any changes in this page, click Save again. If you're not making any changes, click Cancel. Next thing I'd like to show you is, again, click on your name, go to Network Profile. Once you're in the Network Profile screen, this is where you're going to change your billing name. So click Edit Billing Name, and you'll see this one's listed as Network Training. Whatever network you're currently logged into, you'll see the billing name listed there. It'll most likely be defaulted to close to what the actual network name is. So the client name, our client ID, billing name is what's listed here and what you need to use here. Now, if you change this, every invoice for this client network has to use the same thing, or you're constantly coming back and changing it. We understand you may have multiple insured parties or what you call clients on your end that you bill to this single client in T360. But when it comes to the client, it's this right here, this billing name and the network name. That's the client. That's who's paying the bills. That's who you're submitting invoices to. So if you need to have multiple billing names, you have to constantly change. You can only have one at a time. What you can do to make it easier on you is in your invoice files, if it's a 1998B file, you could change the law firm matter ID, because that does not need to match anything in T360, to whatever your client name is going to be, whoever your client is. And same thing, if it's an XML file, it'll be listed as LF_matter_ID. That doesn't match T360, so if you want to have multiple client names that way, you can use that section to signify that. But the actual CL_name in an XML file or the client ID in a 98B file has to match what's here every single time, or you'll need to come back here and change it or update your invoice file. If you are going to change this, click OK. If not, click Cancel. Next thing I'd like to show you are some default preferences and things you can change. So if you click on your name, go to Preferences. You could change the time zone that's listed in the system, the regional format, default view mode for invoices, either profile page, detailed page, your company's currency. Now, this is different from the default currency. So let's say you set the default to Canadian or USD, but your company's is CAD. You can keep this as CAD, and I'll show you where there's a switch where you flip between the currencies in just a moment. You can change the preferred export format. So the default export format is going to be XML file. It can be opened in Excel, no problem. Some people don't like it, or their company doesn't allow that. So you can switch this to XLS or Office 2007 Plus, which is a more used format by a lot of people. So you have that option. You can change the amount of matters and invoices shown per page, the amount of facets on the home page, things like that. If you're making any changes, click Save, if not, click Cancel. Here's one of the gadgets I was just referencing. Your page may be blank right here. You might say no data found, or it may have gadgets already. You definitely want this gadget, and I'll show you how to add in just 1 second, but the invoice file submissions. So if you don't have this, you can click Customize, top right corner of the screen. Go to the invoice submenu. Make sure you have the invoice file submissions one as a red minus. If it's a blue plus, click on the blue plus, it'll change to a minus. Leave it as a minus. And if your network has the option, also add invoices pending appeal. If that one has a plus, click a plus right to the right of that, and then click Done. Every other one here is dealer's choice. It's whatever you want, but those two, the file submissions and appeals, you definitely want on your home page. This one, the file submissions, is if you're logged into someone else's account and you submit invoices, you will never receive the alert because it'll go to their email address. The alerts only go to the email linked to the account that's logged in at the time of submission. If you're not, you can always check here. These transaction ID numbers will be the item you click on to view why it failed. So for example, this one says invalid. You click on this ID, go to related items, rule failures, invoice currency is not supported by the client. So right there it tells you why, and then you can fix your invoice. So that's why you want that one. The other one, pending appeal. Some networks have a 14-day deadline. Some networks have no deadline. It's best to treat them all as 14 days so you don't mix up which client is which. And as soon as you log into T360, if you see something sitting there in the appeals gadget, work on it. Work on them before anything else, because you don't want to miss your appeal deadline. And the faster you get those appealed and approved, the faster your company's going to get paid. All right. And then just to the right of customize, you'll see this org and CAD. That's what's about the slider. So if your company submits invoices in USD, but your default company currency is CAD, the original will show your invoice in USD, and then when you click the slider, it'll update to CAD. We'll get to that later, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Matter of fact, let me just update this real quick to make sure we're on the correct one. And USD, there we go. All right, there we go. Now, next thing I'd like to show you is how to access your alert subscriptions. Click on your name and go to alert subscriptions. Now, just to let you know, as a company administrator and billing admin, you may receive alerts that you cannot disable, and it does it on purpose. For example, would be those invoice submission ones. You can't turn those off. They're always going to be there because you need to know if your invoice failed or it was successfully submitted. Same thing goes for appeals. Someone needs to work on the appeal, so you can't disable those. You have a new matter assigned to your company. You cannot disable those. Same thing goes for, depending on the network, lead attorney or responsible attorneys, lead timekeepers, things like that. Certain roles that get alerts that cannot be disabled. So if you have an attorney saying to you, I keep getting spam with these emails, I no longer receive them, well, you can't disable them. One thing you could do is you could change their email address to yours, so at least somebody's viewing them, but you can't actually disable the alert if they have a specific role. These alerts, though, under my alert subscriptions, can be turned on or off. The one I'm going to show you right now is probably defaulted already in your alerts, and you're going to want to most likely do something with it. So we're going to set the event group to invoice, and we're going to click search. We're going to go over here, click on immediate delivery twice, nothing's enabled. So we're going to try digest delivery twice, nothing's enabled. So if you see a check mark under immediate, that means you get the alert instantly as soon as it's sent out. If it's set, the digest is set to daily, that means you receive all the alerts for this one category once per day at the end of the day. It's around 5 p.m. Eastern. If it's set to daily and checked off, nothing's going to be sent. They cancel each other out. So it has to be one or the other or neither. Now, the alert that I was just mentioning is this one right here. Invoice status changed. Go ahead and look for that alert. See if you have it. If you do, you're most likely going to either want to do uncheck this, don't keep it as immediate, and set this to daily, or keep it as none. And the reason why I say that is, this is the description. Status of this alert or of an invoice has changed from draft to in review, pending payment processing process. Now, depending on what network you're working in and how many invoices you submit per day, every single time this invoice hits a new status, you will be sent an email immediately if you have it set to immediate. And what I mean by that is, for example, let's say your invoice goes to pending appeal, then to you for appeal. Or no, actually go to TP or appeal review, then to you for appeal, then back to appeal review, then to in review, then approved, then to in review, then approved, then to payment processing, failed payment processing. Every single time it hits one of those, it will send you an email. And I've seen some users who submit 30, 40 invoices a day and get 8 or 9 of these emails per invoice. So, I mean, you can get hundreds of emails. So, choice is yours. If you want to be alerted every single time, click keep on immediate. If you want one single email at the end of every day telling you the status change on every invoice for that day, set it to daily. If you don't want any alerts on any of this and you just would rather check the invoice status in the system, uncheck immediate and set the digest to none. But this one by default should be set to immediate, and this one can spam your inbox. Once you're done enabling or disabling all the alerts that you want, click save. Now, I only showed you the invoice group, but you can check all the other event groups that you have access to see what alerts you have. I can't tell you which ones you should or shouldn't have. I just mentioned this one constantly because we had a lot of calls for people wondering why they were constantly being spammed with alerts for the same invoice. And it's because this one alert is on. But once you're done deciding which alerts you want, click save. Okay. Next thing I'd like to show you is the document library and how to access your documents for your network. So, left side of the screen, you should see the double arrows to expand the menu, the home button right below it. So if you have this minimized, the second icon below is a Matters submenu, or just Matters. Click on that, and then locate document library, but don't click on it right away. You'll notice that if you highlight it, there's a little globe with a plus. If you highlight it, it'll say add to favorites. Go ahead and click add to favorites to add that document. At the top of the screen, you'll see the favorites option. If you click on that, you'll see it listed there with, currently I have 2 other ones added. And you click pin to add this to the home page if you want, or all screens, which you'll also notice got rid of the favorites button. Or keep it unpinned to save more real estate and keep it up there for easier access. You're not constantly dealing with the side menu. Once you decide what option you want to run with, go back to Matters and go to the document library. Now, once you're in here, each network's different. They have their own client folders to go through. The main folder you're going to be dealing with on any client network is going to be the law firm documents folder, or law firm public documents folder, or just law firm folder. Again, it's all how they name the folder themselves. I personally recommend just clicking on documents to start with, click search your subfolders, and then click search to pull every single document that you currently have access to on their client document library. Once you have this loaded up, click on last update date twice so the arrow points down. This will pull the most recent documents to the top of the screen. And the 2 you want to look for right off the bat are the Getting Started Guide and the Network Requirement Guides. If you believe that these are too old, like if these ones currently say 2017, you might have ones from this year, you might have ones from last year. If you believe that they may not be the most recent ones, you will need to contact the client directly. We only can provide what they've added to the system. You also can, in this area document library, you could find the billing guidelines, things like that. You could find, you should be able to find your bill code guides. You could try doing the wildcard with percentage symbol, the word code, percentage symbol, and click search. And then you'll find this either listed as Uniform Task Management or Task-Based Management System, or you might see the acronym UTBMS. You also may see it broken down by different categories like project, consulting, counseling, whatever it's going to be. Or you might just have one like this, which is a generic list with all the codes for all the different work areas that they provide. If you don't see the code list, again, you need to contact the client to retrieve it. Just let you know that some networks, even though the code shows up in the code list, you still may get an invoice rejected for using it because the code is active, but you need special permission from them before you can use it. Perfect example is E124. It's other. It's a blanket code. It can cover anything. So technically they allow it, but you need to get approval from them before you can bill it. So just letting you know, because you see the code active in the list doesn't mean you can fully bill it. Your invoice may get rejected when you try to submit it. Again, if you're searching here or anywhere else, always put the wildcard before and after whatever you're searching, and always search by one word, especially goes for matters. Don't try typing in the matter name as I gave it to you. Most likely it's not spelled like that in the system. The adjuster is just giving you what they have on their claim, but not what they put in T360. Always try the wildcard in a single name form. So if it's like an actual insured user, or let's say an accident victim, put like their last name, percentage, last name, percentage, search that way. Don't try searching the full name, because if it's not spelled exactly or with the correct punctuation, you may not find it. Okay, the next thing I'd like to show you is how to add your members into T360. There's a couple different ways to do this: adding brand new users and mapping existing users. And as we spoke about earlier, we're going to add a new company admin in case one of you are currently using someone else's account. You can create your own account right now to use for future use. So left side of the screen, last icon, looks like a little person on the time clock. Click on that. It's a view admin submenu. Once you're in there, company members. Now again, you can create a favorite if you want, or just click on company members. Once you're in here, we're going to always search first before adding someone brand new. So we're going to try to find, let's try Merkel. There's no Merkel. Okay, so let's do Merkelman. Let's try Merkelman. There we go. So once you verify the person is not in the system, click Add New Member. First thing it's going to ask you is login name. Now, you always need to put a login name even if the person never, ever logs in. So in this case, we're going to use their email address. Now, the reason why we're using the email address is that's unique to that user. Even if you have somebody that has what you might think is the most unique one-off name ever, someone might be using that as a username somewhere already in the system. First initial, last name, or whatever it's going to be. Even if you add numbers to it, you might be struggling trying to find one that works. Best thing to do is email address that's unique to that person. Once they're logged in, if they want, they can change it to whatever they want. They can struggle with trying to do it. But for you, always use their email address because that's unique to that person. Just because you get an error message saying login name in use doesn't mean it's being used by your company. It's someone in T360 outside your company that has it, most likely. Then you're going to do the first name, last name, and office. Also, if the user is going to have a billable role, such as partner, associate, or paralegal, make sure you add a timekeeper ID. Timekeeper ID has to match what you put in your invoice file. So if they're going to be billed on a invoice, you need a timekeeper ID. Doesn't matter what you put here, as long as it's what you're using in your invoice file. If you don't add this, you will get an error message when you try to add the role saying timekeeper ID not there, and you have to go back and add it. So always make sure you add it here before you go forward. Once you have every item with a star and timekeeper ID if needed, scroll down to email address. If you don't want the person to get a confirmation email, click the do not send, and then click next. Next page is going to say specify a supervisor. You can completely skip this and click next. Next page is where we're going to add the roles. Now, let's say this person is one of you and you're adding yourself as a brand new company administrator. You want the billing admin role. Don't click on the role name. Instead, go to the right under the map box, set the bill rate to 0 and the start date to today. Start date does not need to be backlogged or backdated because it's a non-billable role. Once those are done, click OK. Now for the timekeeper thing, I'm going to put a billable role to it. So let's say it's a paralegal. Again, don't click on paralegal, fall to the right, click the checkbox, enter in the bill rate. This time you're going to backlog a date, and we recommend you do the first of whatever year you're billing from. So let's say they're only billing this year. Mainly type in 1/1/2025. Time for last year, 2024, and so on. The reason why you do the first of the year, it covers you. If for any reason you put in, let's say, November 1st, but then you realize you have time in September. Well, if you have to come back here and change the date, you have to wait for it to be reapproved, and you're waiting even longer to get your invoice submitted. So it's best to cover the full year. If you have the end date option on your end, you do not need an end date unless the client network itself requires it. There's only a few that actually require you to add an end date, and it's always a future date, like 2099, something ridiculous like that. Or if you're adding multiple rates. So let's say this is an old timekeeper that's already got a rate increase. You put in a start date of, let's say, 1/1/2024 at 95 with an end date of 12/31/2024, or whatever the day before the new rates go live. You add those, and then I'll show you real quick. You click OK, add, then you click this plus below to add in the rates again. So let's say they got it raised 105. You then put in the next day. So they recently removed this for some reason, I can't remember why, but end date's not here. But you would put, if the end date on the old rate is 12/31/2024, the start date on this one would be 1/1/2025. It's always the day after the last one ended. The old rates can still be used backwards and forwards. These ones just can't be used before the start date. That's how it works. Just because it has an end date doesn't mean it's completely ended. All right, as you'll see here also, this bill rate says proposed. If it says proposed, you have to get it approved by the client before you can submit any invoices. T360 support cannot approve any rates for you. So whatever client network you're working with, you need to contact that admin team, which will be in the network requirement guides. And they will be able to approve your rates, or if there's something wrong, they can tell you what's wrong, and you can go in and adjust them before they approve them. Once you have all the rules and rates added here, click next. Now we'll currently see this person on the list because they're brand new. And again, if this is for you and one of you are trying to add your own account as a company admin, you're not done yet. So you want to click on your name. You want to click appoint as company admin. It'll then change to suspend as company admin. Without being set up as a company admin, you don't have full access. You can't create users, you can't reset passwords, you can't do appeals. Only company admins can do those things. As a billing admin only, you can submit invoices, you can access budgets, you can revise budgets, that's it. You can't do the other things. So if you need to have full access to absolutely everything, you need to be set up as a company admin as well. Once you have that done, you still need to send yourself a password reset link. So click on reset password. Don't worry about the checkbox, it's gonna force you automatically, and then click generate. It'll say, are you sure you want to send a new link? Click OK. Once you click OK, log out of T360 and close all T360 browser windows. If you have T360 open, when you click on the link, it's going to bring you to a login screen, not a reset screen. So make sure you have T360 completely closed before you click on that reset link. Okay, so that's how you add a brand new person, and if needed, create a new company administrator and reset their password. Now, let's say you have an existing member that's already in T360, but not on the network you're currently logged into. Go to your company profile, or go to admin submenu, company members, and then right here on the left side, you can see this. So as you can see this little icon on the left side of the screen, every single one of them is just blank, except for these 5. They have that little plus. If you see a user with a little plus like that, that means they're already in T360, just not mapped to the network you're currently on. So if you want to add them to this network, click on their name, click enable in network. It'll say disable once done, leave it as disable, then click related items, roles and rates. Once you're in related items, roles and rates, you'll see it just says external user. That's a default role everyone gets for the network that you're adding them on. But what you want to do is you want to click edit at the top. Once you're there, it'll bring up the full list of roles. Again, don't click on the role name. Click on the role you want to add the person as. So again, we're gonna make another paralegal. We're gonna do 95, 1/1/2025, and then click OK. Now they're there again, rates gotta be proposed. If we go back to the company members page, you will now see no more plus symbol on that person's name because we've now enabled them and mapped them to that network. So that's how you would add an existing member to a network they don't have access to. Never duplicate people. Don't ever do that. You can never delete somebody. So if you accidentally create a duplicate, you can't delete them. If it's a brand new duplicate, go into their profile and just change the first and last name. Like if it's brand new and they haven't billed yet, we don't recommend you ever overwrite somebody. But if it's someone brand new and you just realize, oh, I made a mistake, I made a duplicate, you can't delete them. But you can go in here and put the first and last name as placeholder or something else like that, maybe duplicate. And then when you go to create a different person, then overwrite that account to be someone new. That's up to you. But you can't physically delete them from the system. And it's done like that for auditing purposes. Now, let's say you have the wrong timekeeper ID, or for some reason your company decides to start using different ones. I've seen this before where they start with, let's say, like employee ID numbers or some kind of number system, and then they switch to initials, or the other way around. They had everyone initials, and then they decided one day we're switching to a number system. So if you need to tweak or add or edit a timekeeper ID, go into a user's profile, click related items, go to timekeeper ID. Now, since this person already has one, you want to click edit, and then you can either change this one right here to whatever you want, or click add ID, and you can have multiple. So you can have multiple timekeeper IDs like this. And it doesn't matter. This person can have 100 different timekeeper IDs. It doesn't matter which one you use in your invoice file. It'll always link to this one person. If you try to add one somebody already has in the system, you will get an error message saying somebody's already using this timekeeper ID. And then the only thing to do there is you have to find the person with the original one and either change it on their account or give this person a different one completely. You cannot use the same ID across two people. So you either have to use a different one here or change it on the original and then add that one to this user. That's it. Okay, so we're going to go to the matters submenu again. This time we're going to look for our matters. Now, you're going to notice you have search all matters and my matters. Never use my matters. Technically, you can use it on a couple of networks, but it's only if the matter is assigned directly to you by name. Since all the matters, no matter what network you're working on, are assigned to your company, always use search all matters. Don't go to my matters. So you want to go to search all matters, and if you want, again, click on the globe with the plus to add a favorite. Once you're in search all matters, what I always recommend doing here right away without worrying about anything else is go right down to the search screen or search buttons, click reset first. You'll notice nothing happening. It's going to blink for a millisecond. You won't even notice it. Just click reset and then click search. This will pull every single matter your company is currently assigned to on whatever client network you're logged into. And then sorry about that. And then you'll notice that you'll get the full list of all open and closed matters. Now, if you physically cannot see a matter there that you think you should be added to, you need to contact the client network directly. T360 support cannot add you to the matters. Some networks, the responsible professional on the matter can't add you either. You need to contact the client admin. So again, contact the client contact from your network requirement guides and CC in the responsible professional, because depending on the network, just refer to the network requirement guides. They'll tell you who you to contact for the matters. But You can't add the matter on the majority of networks. I think there's like 1 or 2 networks total out of hundreds that you can actually add the matter yourself, but the client themselves should be adding the matters for you. So if you can't find one here by name or number, reach out to them. They will add it for you. And again, if you're going to search by name, I'd try the percentage symbols like this, or if number, just put in the full number. Don't do both. Always do one or the other. Personally, I recommend number. But that's dealer's choice. It's up to however you prefer searching. All right, next thing I'd like to show you is how to actually create an invoice. So now we're going to go to the invoice submenu. It's the second icon at the home button. It looks like a little piece of paper with a dollar symbol. Click on that and go to create manual invoice. All right, once you're in here, if you know your matter number or name, search by that. If not, we're just going to do a blank search. We're going to pick a matter at random. I'll try this one. Don't click on the matter name. Click the radio button to the left of it. Click next. Once you're on the next page, you're going to choose a template. Now, we can't tell you which template you should be using. If your matter required you to add a budget, you're going to use the same template the budget was on. So whatever budget template you use, create your budget, or you're going to use for the invoice as well, that they match. 9 times out of 10, it's most likely going to be a litigation, task activity, or phase level. So in this case, we're going to use a litigation task activity for examples. Again, click the radio button, click next. Next page is the invoice summary creation page. You only need to do the items and stars here. And the most important 2 are these ones. These cannot be changed after the invoice is created. You cannot change the matter the invoice is assigned to, and you cannot change the start and end date. So whatever you put for your start and end date, again, depending on the network or billing guidelines for the client network you're on, we recommend the first of the month and the end of the month for whatever month or quarter or year you're billing, whatever it's going to be. So what I mean by that is, let's say you're billing September through November, or let's do July through September this year. Don't do like 7/22/2025. Whoops. Don't do that. Because if you have a line items on the 21st, you can't use that line item. The invoice will fail. So it's best just to do the first of that month to cover the entire month, because you can always bill on or after this date. You can't bill before it. And then if this is going to September, you would do the end of September, just like that. Make sure you're covering the whole thing. If it's monthly, again, first and last of the month. If it's quarterly, yearly, whatever it's going to be, even if it goes across multiple years, just make sure you have the start date as the first whatever month you're billing from, and the end date is the end of whatever month you're billing from. Because if you have lines that fall out of that range, you'll have to delete the lines and create a separate invoice just for those lines, or create the entire invoice from scratch. Now, technically, if you submit the invoice and it fails on submission, you can download an original copy, and I'll show you that a little bit later, and modify that. But going into an XML file and manually editing it could cause you more of a headache than anything. And I'll explain once we get there. All right, so start end date. We're gonna put an invoice number. We're gonna put in test. What's today's date? Oh, no, it's already December. Wow, it's already December. Wow. Okay, fun. And today's date. Technically, invoice date should be the day you're creating the invoice. You could backlog this. This date doesn't matter, because when you submit the invoice, that's what most of their network rules go off of. They have, we'll get to that in a moment too, but there's rules for timely filing, and you can backlog this date. It still will fail because it goes by the day the invoice is submitted, not the invoice date. Again, currency type, as I mentioned earlier in our training session, on XML files, because this will create an XML 2.1 file, you select the currency here. So whatever your company's default currency will not affect this whatsoever. If you submit as USD, the default's Canadian, it will be submitted in USD. That's just the way it is. Default currency only affects 1998B files. All right, once we have everything we want filled out here, click next. Next page is where you're actually going to create your invoice. Now, if you're adding taxes, in this case we will, click the little plus here under hide invoice taxes. You're going to select your jurisdiction. In this case, we're going to do, let's say, Great Britain. We're going to add two taxes, a taxable and non-taxable. Now, the reason why I'm doing that as an example is if you are adding taxes, every single line has to have a tax applied to it, even if the line is non-taxable. So if you have lines that are not being taxed, you still need to put a 0% tax on your invoice and apply to that line. You cannot leave a line without a tax. It will fail if you try to submit it. Invoice level adjustments, majority of networks do not allow that, but if you want to double check, either reach out to the client directly or check the billing guidelines, but most of them don't allow this, so I'm actually going to skip it. Then you're going to go down to hide invoice line items. That's where you're going to create your actual invoice line item. Click the plus to add the line. And again, your dates have to be somewhere within the start and end dates. So we're going to do 7/15/2025. Oh, there we go. And we're going to make this first line an expense. We're going to choose local travel. Since it's an expense, a timekeeper is not required. You can actually skip this part. Put in the narrative, put in travel locally, whatever it's going to be. Never put in multiple items here. What I mean by that is, let's say it was traveled to courthouse, paid for parking, traveled to hotel afterwards to spend the night, paid for travel home. Each one of those items needs its own line item. You can't put them all in one line. It'll be considered bulk billing. So don't do that. So let's just say it's travel, flat fee, local travel, let's say it's $256, something like that, 0.53. And this is non-taxable, so we're going to put that tax on there and hit add line. Then we're going to click the plus to add this time a fee. Let's do 8/2/2025. Oops, fee. Let's do survey says that one. How about that one? Factor investigation development. Research. This time we do need a timekeeper because it is a fee. So click the ellipses to the right. And we're going to choose a partner, somebody with a higher bill rate. Come on, give me a partner. Okay, let's try this. Partner. There we go. Got a narrative, researched accident, whatever it's going to be. Could I spell today? Maybe. And then we're going to, the rate's $250. Now, if you want to make a flat fee, click this checkbox. It'll get rid of that. You can put in whatever rate you want here. In this case, though, we're going to keep it a regular hourly. So we're going to put in 4 hours of work to make it $1,000. And we're going to add the 20% tax. Oh, wait, no, I did that wrong. I got to go back. Yeah, so we'll make that 4 hours. We'll add line. I calculated my taxes wrong, so go back up here. I'm sorry about that. If you need to make adjustments on the taxes, click the pencil to the left of the tax you want. And we need to change that. It was a 20% tax. I read that wrong. Update tax. 20% of 1,000 is $200. There we go. Now, if you're working on a manual invoice and for any reason you need to get up from your computer, do some research, call the attorney, go get coffee, whatever it's going to be, click finish. Don't just walk away from your computer. The reason why I say that is if the system auto logs out for inactivity, there's a chance you're going to lose everything you created. Now, you can get what they call a pre-draft sometimes. It allows you to get some of the work you save, but it's not going to work like Word or Office products where it saves every single keystroke. It doesn't do that. So if you need to save your data, click save or finish to get there. Now, let's say you do walk away from the computer and you saved your draft and you want to get back to it. You go to the invoice submenu, go to My Drafts, and then you can search for the invoice. You'll see it down here. Now, of course, you can either click the checkbox to the left of it and click delete or submit for review here. I personally recommend clicking on the invoice number to go into it. if you're going to submit it, just so you can double check it to make sure everything's there. Now the top half is going to show you just the basic summary. If you grab this blue bar and drag it upwards, you'll see the line items you created. If you want to edit it to make changes, you click Edit Invoice up here. Again, if you're done, click Save. Now, let's say you wanted to add a receipt or backup document to the invoice file. You want to go to the invoice submenu again. This time, go to Search Invoices. Once you're in here, enter your invoice number, click Search. Click on the invoice number. Click Related Items. Oh, no, sorry. Click Add. Add Document. Once you're in the Add Document screen, click Browse. And locate the receipt or whatever you want to add. If you want to add multiple, you can hold, or no, you can only have one at a time here. So just click the one you want to add, click Open. You'll see the file there. If you don't like that file, you click Browse and remove it, or click on it to get rid of it. Enter a description. Or we got the document again. So I removed it. Enter a description, travel receipt. And then down here, notice that this one is blank, the view access type. You need to make sure this is set to network. If you have it set to owner, my company, or members, the client cannot see the document. So it has to be set to network. If you don't want anybody to be able to change it, keep this as my company or owner. Don't put this in network, because then anybody can go ahead and change the document. But this is the most important one, the view access type. Make sure it's at network. Once you have that all done, click Save. Once it's saved, you can click on View Related Items. You'll see Documents Now Say 1. Go back to the Invoice submenu, My Drafts, search for your invoice, click on the invoice number. Once you're in here, again, you'll see Documents as 1. If you're ready to go, click Submit for Review. It'll say, are you sure you want to submit this invoice? Click OK. Once it's done submitting, you'll see a message saying it's been successfully submitted for testing. Click OK. Just because it's been successfully submitted for testing does not mean it's successfully submitted. Click the home button, go back to the home page, and it goes back to the gadget I had you add earlier. Click on the transaction ID words, the arrow points down. Click on the most recent transaction ID number. Once you're in there, click Related Items, Invoices. Once this pops up, scroll down, and you'll see the status to the right. It's currently in review, so this one was successfully submitted. If it says failed on submission, you can click on the invoice number. Once you're in here, click Related Items, and you'll see status reasons. Click on that to view why it failed. Okay, so that's how you submit a manual invoice. Now, let's say your invoice did fail. Now, it'll always say complete here for a manual invoice. But when you click on it, it'll have two options, either in review or, well, technically three, in review, in TPA review, or in appeal review, one of those three. Or it will say failed on submission. If it's failed on submission, then you can create a draft of it and resubmit it after you make the changes. If, however, you submit a leads file, it goes through two separate checkpoints. If it fails the first checkpoint, it shows up as invalid, and you'll see it invalid here on this list, like this one says. And what that means is that it never passed the first checkpoint. It's a completely invalid file, and it's technically not in T360 whatsoever. Only here is where it's located. It won't be under search invoices. You won't find it anywhere else. If it says complete, again, it'll either be failed on submission or one of the other in review statuses. To submit a leads file, if you have your own leads files, you want to click on the invoice submenu, submit invoice files, add leads file, locate the file you want to submit. If you want to add backup documents, click the piece of paper with the plus symbol to the left of it, locate all the documents you want to add, If you hold down Control, you can select multiple at once. Here, you can actually add multiple. Click Open once you have the ones you want to add. And then if you're all set, click Submit. You get the same message, successfully submitted for testing. Again, does not mean successfully submitted. Click the Home button. Click on the new one. This one's invalid. Click on Related Items, Rule Failures. Billing name is incorrect, and the law firm 10 is incorrect. So that's how you can see why the invoice failed. And you just have to go into your leads file and update it there, and also update your billing software so it adds the correct information going forward. Once you fix your leads file, you go back and you add it, and you have to add the documents again. Same thing with the manual invoice. If it fails, you create a draft to resubmit it, you have to add the backup documents again. Every time you submit it, you always have to add them. Okay. And that concludes today's training session. If you have any questions, please let me know. Anything. If I glazed over anything, if I went too quickly, please let me know. Anything at all. No question is too little or too big. Any questions on accessing matters, invoices, timekeepers, anything? Well, if no one has any more questions for today, this concludes today's training. My name is Peter. You have yourself a great day and stay safe, and happy holidays.